Hey team, it's Daniel again with Brazos Valley Boars and Varmits. So for this video, we're going to be comparing daytime traditional optical scopes by comparison to new age digital scopes. And this isn't going to be so much about what the different features do, the glass and the turrets and these things, or what this one brings that the knobs do and how the screen works. This isn't going to be a gear review. This is going to be a more of a philosophy about gear review. So what does this one offer you versus what does that one offer you? And I hope that this is something that's going to be very enjoyable and useful for you when buying gear at some point in the future. My goal is to stay focused on deer hunting and that style where you're probably sitting in a box blind or you're sitting in some kind of natural blind, and this thing is leaned up in the corner of the stand waiting for the deer to come out, and it's going to be more geared towards using the daytime features, not the nighttime features. For example, this one has a digital night vision capability to it, so that's great, that's wonderful, that is added value that gets brought to this. But I want to talk about the one that when you're sitting in the deer stand, which one would you want to take your deer with during daytime, daylight, legal shooting hours, right? So that's what we're going to focus on. So over here we have my Night Force NX8 F1 4x32 on a 50mm objective lens. And over here we have a Sightmark Wraith 4K Max. Both of these are wonderful. I've killed deer with both of these, and in fact, if you remember my video from a week or two ago, this is the scope that my daughter used mounted on her rifle that she took a deer with last year, her first and her second deer, and then later in the season I took another deer as well. But I've also gotten several deer with my Night Force here. Both of these are absolutely wonderful. They're great scopes. Now, before I get into the differences that each one of these has, I want to address a old mentality that nowadays we're calling FUD. And the idea is that if you are the person who is going to sit here and go, man, this is all that you need is a 3x9 Simmons, like, that's fine, okay, I get it. There's a place for that. I killed many a deer with a 3x9x40 Simmons, and there's been wonderful memories made with those. But we are moving forward technologically, and while this old technology is not going to be fully replaced, there's a lot of new stuff that's coming out that's really nice to have. It's really neat. It's really cool. You know, we used to only have phones on the wall when I was growing up, and they had a cord. Now we have cell phones. The map used to be in the glove box. Now it's in your cell phone. There's so many things that you used to only do a certain way, and now we realize there's more ways that are available that turned out to be pretty cool. Nothing is wrong with these old ways. I still keep a map in every glove box of every vehicle, but I also like the one that's on my cell phone too. So if you're gonna stick with the old style mentality, I hope that you are having an open mind and therefore an open discussion and thought process about these. But guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm not selling my Night Force scopes. They are staying, right? So let's talk about it. The very #1 thing, you say, Daniel, what is it that you love about digital scopes that you can't get with daytime optics from the past? And that's easy, super simple. Internal recording. Now I say internal, there are external devices that you can either put on the back of these that do some kind of weird thing. I've owned a few of them. Some of them were junk. They were horrible. Then these weren't these cheapy Amazon ones. These are pretty pricey that go on the back of this, and I hated them. I've had other ones that's like, this kinda works-ish, but I still didn't like it. I know that there's others that are out there that I haven't tested, but this one, there's a button right here. You just push that button and it starts recording. Well, why is recording such a big deal to you, Daniel? Oh, you got a YouTube channel. Well, of course I do. But at the same time, we could go over and over and over again with my daughter. this is the deer that she shot, and she has that on her tablet so that she can show her friends on her tablet. So instead of the story of, and there I was, no man, she actually can hit, well, we were sitting there and hit play, and she can walk through all of this. So being able to share those actual hunts, not just your retelling of it, but the video, more detail about it than you could recreate with your own voice. Being able to share that with your family, with your friends, with your loved one, also on YouTube, there's something to that just cannot be replaced by doing it with traditional daytime optics. If you want to be able to do that feature, you're either going to have a real struggle because you're bringing some complexity to this that is just built right in. It's simple, it's easy to use. Another key thing with being able to record is the fact that you can go back and re-watch your shot or your miss, and being able to do that can make you a better shooter and therefore a better hunter. If we want to show respect to that game animal by making a clean, quick kill, it is really nice to be able to watch your previous shots and learn from those and figure out how to be better. And I got two perfect examples of this. One, that deer that my daughter shot on her very first outing, her very first kill with this scope, it was not that great of a shot. I mean, she killed it, she recovered it, we nicked the lungs, and that thing bled out everywhere, and it was a simple find, but it went a pretty good distance because it didn't break one of the shoulders and it didn't go in the heart. And so that deer, it ran a little bit, right? But being that she got that on film, we were able to look at that footage and say, yep, this right here is exactly where the crosshairs were on that deer, and yep, that is exactly where the bullet went. Baby, this was all you. We know that what we did is exactly what happened. There's no, like trying to say something to make us feel better about ourselves. No, man, that's exactly what you did. And so when the next animal came around, we could take this previous example, learn from it, and realize we just need to slow down, calm down a little bit, and make sure that shot lines up perfect before you just squeeze it off. And then her second deer, that thing came out. She already learned the examples from the first one. Second one, perfect textbook shot. That thing barely ran off and crumpled up because she got it in the heart. Wonderful, beautiful. Later that same weekend, I took it out on top of one of the hills over in the hill country and shot at a deer at some pretty good distance. And what I realized I was doing was I was taking too much time. In fact, I was showing that video to other friends of mine, and they got bored watching it, just waiting for me to actually finally take this animal. Because they're sitting there going, you could take it now. And you didn't. Could take it now. Now. And I'm not doing it, right? And so I realized, and through them critiquing me about this, you're taking way too long to get this critter. And you know what? They're absolutely right. And so, whereas my daughter is learning she needs to slow down a little bit and take some time, I'm learning that I need to just take it when I've got that thing lined up right, just do it, right? On a traditional daytime optic, you don't get any of that benefit. So the only way to do that would be to do some add-on stuff that brings complexity, could be bringing wires, other weird stuff. It's essentially, it's not there. With this one, it's all built in, and I love that. That is the number one thing about this one that I love by comparison to traditional optics, which I grew up with and will always have a special spot in my heart. And I'm still going to kill stuff with these, right? But this one brings that to the table, whereas this one doesn't. But on top of that, this one brings a complexity called batteries. Now, you can get these either with an internal battery, like this one has, which actually I'm not that big of a fan of, or some of them take rechargeable or replaceable batteries, and I really do prefer those because you can keep an extra one or two of those in your hunting bag, because if we're focusing on deer hunting, you're probably wearing a backpack, and that thing is in the corner. So you can just carry more of those, and that way you can just replace those real fast. Or if it's the internal, you've got to have a battery pack and then the right cord, and then hope that that pack is charged and that the cord is actually working, that it's not giving you kind of weird problems, and it's got to be in the bag. Another solution also, instead of having in the bag, is having it in one of these pouches, and I keep one of these buttstock pouches on all of my deer hunting rifles, and you can keep that in there just in case you're away from the bag. But I said all of that, and you know what you got to have with this one? Nothing. The traditional optic, you see that deer, you want to take it. You just grab that deer rifle out of the corner, put it out the window, and you got it. This one, you've got to grab it, put it out the window, and then turn on. And hopefully you're not like me, and you're the guy that actually forgets to turn that thing off, and now the battery's dead. But if you did the right thing, if you took the right steps and you did have it turned off, and then whenever you picked it up and put it out the window, you turn it on, now you got to wait for some startup time. So this is a lot faster and a lot less complex because you don't have to deal with the battery. This one, not so much. And potentially you could lose an animal because you're having to mess with the electronic side of things, whereas this one you don't, because you're only dealing with the mechanical side of things. And the electronics aren't going to fail you because there are no electronics. So that is a layer of complexity that you've got to be planned for and ready for. Now, if we're talking about super fast shoot kill stuff, you know, when you start doing that, people start thinking about like close quarter combat kind of things. Like, guys, we're not talking about that. We are talking about deer hunting, right? I've got problems and things I love about each one of these, right? I've never lost an animal because my scope didn't turn on in time when I was using a traditional scope. But especially using thermals at night and having those turned off just to save the battery life, I have lost animals before because by the time the scope actually turned on and I could get set up, the animal was gone. With traditional, you don't have to think about it. Batteries are a thing. Another big problem that everybody has dealt with if they've been a traditional deer hunter for long enough is what happens when these take a hit, right? These get dropped somehow. I've had everything from the actual gun case fell out of the back of the truck because we left the tailgate down. Somebody accidentally kicked it and it was on a pile of rocks and it went down the pile of rocks, to everything from I was just walking and fell. I leaned it up against like the tailgate that was down, but it wasn't in a corner, and so that then just fell on the side. All kinds of drops have happened to my deer rifles. Well, what do you do after you drop it? On a traditional daytime optic, you're going to have to either trust it or re-zero it. So the question is, can you really trust it? I don't know. I mean, how many times have we known people that have just been very dismissive about this and have written it off, oh, it'll be fine, and then they miss deer? Or people have had the traditional daytime optic and they have a drop and they say, well, I guess I'm only going to shoot something if it's within like 25 yards because I really can't be that far off. And they kind of don't really know what they're talking about. It could be, it couldn't be. The reason they don't know is because they didn't get a chance to re-zero it. And we've seen this happen right before you head out to the stand. So can you trust it? I don't know. With this one, if you drop it, can you trust it? Well, if you turn it on and everything works just fine, everything looks okay, you know, you don't have black lines going all through it, the screen looks like those old TVs we used to have with ants running everywhere. Now, if you turn it on and everything looks okay, you can trust it. It's going to be fine because this one is just relying on some XY coordinates inside of a graph called your image. And so it just picks that spot out and says that that is where the 0 is. And as long as you pick it up and turn it back on and it's all working fine, this is going to be okay. Well, how can you trust that? Well, you drop an electronic device all the time and trust it, i.e. your cell phone. In fact, they get dropped so much that the #1 accessory sold for cell phones are protective cases. And if you drop that thing and you pick it back up and it looks like it's working fine, when you hit call on your wife, you trust that it's calling your wife and not your ex-wife. So why do you trust that? Because everything is working the way it should, because it's all electronic based, not based on using tension to hold it all in place. And when it takes a hit, there's a chance for all of that tension to be released enough that that spring holding that gear in place can let that gear just go, and therefore that wire attached to it, which is determining where your crosshairs are, goes way off, and then it settles back in, and when you look through it, you have no idea. And the only way to really know is to re-zero it. This one, you can trust it. If it turns on, it's okay. Now, let me just go a little bit deeper. If you pick this thing up and it doesn't turn on, or you pick this thing up and it has lines all over it, it's going back to the manufacturer. That's it. And how long is that going to be out? I don't know. I mean, I've had stuff come back in a couple of weeks. I have friends who've had stuff take months to come back when you're talking about electronic scopes. That was mainly a thermal, but still the idea is that it's gone. It may be gone all deer season. No idea. How long is this one out till you re-zero it? Which maybe you can do it right before that hunt. Maybe you just do it that night. Maybe you do it in the middle of the afternoon. But it's just down until you can re-zero it. Now, if the glass is broken, well, then obviously this one's toast. But same thing here. If the glass is broken, it's toast. But this one, yeah, you can re-zero it in camp because you didn't know. But this one, it's going to be fine. The only way it's not would be if you had to send it off. Same with this one. The only way it's really not okay is if the glass is broken, you got to send it off. So I got really good things on both of these, and I got some kind of takebacks on both of these as well. So that one's going to be one that you're going to have to decide you're comfortable with. All right, but anyways, let's move on. So let's talk about zoom. Now, this one, you get optical magnification all the way from the base mag all the way up to all the way out to full magnification. This one, there is no optical magnification. Now, interesting thing is that like this is a base power of 3, and the sensor is a 4K sensor, but the screen is only about 1 point something thousand pixels, and so there's an amount where you can keep magnifying up, and it doesn't really look pixelated that bad at all, and you can still mag up pretty good at, and get about 8, 9 mag out of it, and it's still like, that's a great image. This is totally workable before it really starts to degrade. However, with this one, the only real degradation that you're going to get is the fact that the higher magnification you go up, the less light you're allowing it to bring in, and so therefore it's overall darkening this image. And that goes right into the next point, is even though this one can get pixelated at higher magnification, it's not getting darker. This one, you can end up with a very dark image that you're trying to find possibly black crosshairs on, again, a dark image. Whereas this, and yeah, I get it, you can get illuminated reticles and illuminated dots, I know, this one's got it. But this one, you can turn the brightness of the screen up. So even when it is really dark traditionally, you can turn that brightness up, and there's some algorithms going on inside to where when that sensor is bringing on all that light, it can play with those colors and brighten it up to make it look brighter. Even though it's still perfectly legal, you're only using natural light, you're not adding artificial light, so it's still perfectly legal to do this, but it can make a dark surrounding look bright. And then also you still have illuminated reticles and such, right? Because it's just a colored crosshair. So whereas you get optical magnification with this one, you can still get high quality magnification, but this one can get dark. This one will stay bright. You can change those settings to make all that happen. So those two really go hand in hand. I've had some really dark settings that did not look dark at all because you could adjust that brightness. However, at the same time, it's still digital magnification. Now, this one is 4K. Guys, life is too short to look through crappy optics. Don't go with something less than 4K. Your life is worth more than the savings, the couple $100 of difference it would cost to go with something cheaper. Get good optics. Don't skimp out on your resolution. Resolution matters, all right? The Night Force is going to have, really high quality image as well, but it's going to get darker by comparison to this one, but this one will be pixelated. Again, more things just to think about. Anyways, I'm rambling. Let's move on. Something that you're really only going to get with the digital is going to be multiple zeros. This is one of those, it only matters if it matters, right? If you want to take this scope off of your traditional deer hunting rifle and then put it on a 22, well then you can have a preset for both of those guns, and I think this one holds like 3, maybe more than that. Versus this one, it only holds 1 0. That's it. If you want to put it on a different rifle, gotta have a new 0. So if that matters to you, well then this is obviously the way to go. If you're of the mindset a gun has a scope, and so no gun has no scope, then this obviously still works just fine, and this is kind of null and void. However, if you do like that versatility, well then there you go. It's built in because it's electronic. It can do this. Because this is mechanical, it can't do that. So guys, I'm releasing this right before deer season down here in Texas for the 2022-23 deer season. What am I gonna go with? I could get a digital optic like this one right here, or I could stick with the traditional one that I've got that has been on my rifle for a couple of years now. Actually, I've got a Night Force 2.5X that I am really wanting to get some blood on. So am I gonna put that on here? Or am I gonna go New Age? When I weigh all these options, the thing that I like the most is gonna come down to 2 things. One of them I can actually replay the footage and learn so I can get better. And then 2, when my stuff takes a hit, I can trust it. It's gonna be the digital. This is my daughter's scope right here, the Sightmark Wraith 4K Max. It's been great, and I got another one. Yeah, they've got different versions of this, and as different models come out in the future, I may be getting rid of this one and going with one of those other versions. But for this deer season, this scope is going to be replacing this Night Force. I say that, I'm not getting rid of my Night Forces. They're wonderful, they're beautiful, I love these things. But those 2 factors, internal recording so I can learn and get better, and then also being able to trust that if this thing turns on, it's fine. That matters a whole lot more to me rather than having the most ultra high definition imaging that you can possibly get. Still great imaging. Guys, I grew up shooting a Simmons. And so I realize I got a Night Force in front of me. I can do with a lot less, right? That Simmons still ain't got nothing on this dude, right? 4K. But that being said, these are the things that I looked at when it helped me make a decision for what I want to be using. And I hope that if you're going to be getting a new scope for your deer rifle, that this video was informative, that it was helpful to y'all, so that way you can decide what really matters to you as far as going with the traditional style of scope or going with this new age digital stuff. I'm not here trying to make the decision for you. I just want to give you some philosophy ideas, some real life field experiences with both of these to help you make a better decision. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope that you have a lot of great success out there this season and all the other ones coming up. Love y'all. Take care. Bye. All right, let's do this. Will this fit? Tradition. You gotta keep the tradition. Everything is tradition. What are you doing without tradition? These young whippersnappers don't know anything about life because they don't know where we came from. Tradition. Saying goofy stuff before the video starts. Tradition. Why is your head shaped the way it is? Tradition. This doesn't make sense. Tradition. Looks pretty good. Not too high, not too low. Just don't sit like that. Yeah. I need the other one. Tread it. A true ninja can walk between the raindrops.